Welcome back to Ben's Book Club. Today we are diving into the book, The Effective Manager.
You know how so many management books are filled with these big, vague ideas? Well, if you've ever felt like you needed something more concrete, let me tell you, Mark Horstman's The Effective Manager is the book for you. It's really the antidote to all that fluff. It's less about finding your grand purpose and a whole lot more about, okay, what do I actually say in my meeting on Tuesday at 2 p.m.? This thing is a tactical playbook, plain and simple. It's all about real-world repeatable actions, not just fuzzy concepts.
So let's just cut right to the chase. Horstman argues that a manager's entire job, when you strip away all the noise and complexity, really just boils down to two things. That's it. This is the core idea of the whole book.
And here it is. It's actually this simple. An effective manager gets results, and they keep their people around. It's never one or the other. This definition is so powerful because it gives you a super clear scorecard. At the end of the day, in any great company, this is what gets you promoted. It's your ability to hit those short-term goals while making sure your team is healthy and stable for the long haul.
This also shows us the two biggest traps that managers fall into. On one side, you've got the manager who crushes every single target, believes a trail of burnt-out, quitting employees in their wake. That's a fail. On the other side, you have the manager who everyone just loves, they're so nice, but critical projects just don't get done. That's also a fail. Real effectiveness is finding that sustainable sweet spot right there in the middle. Okay, so how do you actually find that balance? Well, Horstman gives us a toolkit, and the very first, most critical tool is the one-on-one. In fact, he claims this one single habit is responsible for about 40% of a manager's ability to get results and keep their people. 40%! Just think about that for a second. That's huge.
So why are these meetings such a big deal? Well, think of it like this. Every weekly one-on-one is a deposit into a trust account with your employee. These aren't just status updates. They are a non-negotiable investment. Because when you eventually need to give some tough feedback or ask for a huge push on a project, well, that's a withdrawal. And you can only make those withdrawals if you've been making consistent deposits all along.
And the format he lays out is beautifully simple. It's 30 minutes, every single week, no exceptions. The first 10 minutes, they belong completely to your direct report. Then you get 10 minutes for your agenda, and the final 10 are for looking ahead together. This structure makes sure the meeting is balanced, it's productive, and it's not just another meeting that could have been an email.
All right, so once you've built that foundation of trust with your one-on-ones, now you can actually talk about performance in a meaningful way. This brings us to the next couple of tools in the playbook. Horstman calls it the Manager Tools Trinity, which, kind of funny, actually has 4 parts. The next 2 we'll cover are feedback and coaching.
Now, the key here is to be direct and talk about behavior. You have to forget that old ineffective sandwich method, where you hide the criticism between 2 compliments. It just doesn't work. Horstman's model is way simpler. Just state the behavior you observed and then state its impact. It's not about guessing their intentions or using vague stuff like, you have a bad attitude. It's just facts and consequences. It's clear, it's actionable, and people are way less likely to get defensive. And it's really, really important to know the difference between feedback and coaching. Feedback is in the moment. It's short-term, targeted at something specific that just happened. Coaching, on the other hand, that's the long game. It's a structured process, usually happening during your one-on-ones, where you're intentionally trying to build a new skill over time. And that brings us to the final tool in the kit. This is the one that allows you, as the manager, to scale your own impact and actually grow in your career. And that, of course, is delegation.
This is so key. You see so many new managers get promoted, and then they just keep doing their old job, and they become a huge bottleneck. The whole philosophy here is that you have to push work down to your team. You have to delegate tasks, even the ones you're really good at, because that's how you develop your people's skills and, just as importantly, free up your own time for the high-level work that only a manager can do, like planning and coaching.
Okay, so we've got the playbook, right? It's structured, it's direct, it's almost military grade in its precision. But that leads to a really interesting question. In today's workplace, does the superstructured approach still work? Or is it maybe too rigid?
I mean, really think about it. We're all dealing with teams spread out everywhere. Everyone's got Zoom fatigue. Is a mandatory 30-minute check-in every single week the best use of everyone's time? Or is it just another meeting on the calendar to dread? Or maybe, just maybe, that protected time is more important now than it's ever been. Here's another one.
Horstman is a huge advocate for taking notes, to show you're listening and to remember what was said. But what does that actually feel like for the employee? When you see your manager typing away while you're talking, does it feel like they're engaged, or does it feel like they're building a case file on you? Does that laptop screen basically become a wall between you both?
And what about our relationships at work? The book's advice is to be friendly, but not actual friends. But now, in a world where we talk all the time about bringing our whole self to work, is that professional distance still the best way to go? Or is that an old-school idea that just doesn't fit anymore?
So let's bring this all home and make it really practical for you. We've talked about one-on-ones, feedback, coaching, and delegation. If you had to pick just one of these habits to start doing this week to become a more effective manager, which one would it be? And what makes you think that one would have the biggest impact for you and your team right now? Subscribe so you don't miss an episode.